And I appreciate you're here. So without too much further ado, I'll kind of read my little intro here and say hello.
hmm
And
Sounds
that'll
great.
be the first part of our show. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Coffee People podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Woldt. This show is presented by Roastery Coffee Packaging, found online at roastery.com. The Coffee People podcast is part of the Roast West Coast Network. Go to roastwestcoast.com to find recaps of this show, our Coffee Smarter podcast, so much more. And if you haven't poured yourself a cup of coffee, now is the time to get started. Our guest today is Stephanie Welter-Krause. I hope I said that correctly, the founder of Swelter Coffee, which you can find online at sweltercoffee.com. Stephanie, welcome to the Coffee People podcast.
Hello, thank you.
It has been a couple of minutes since I've done one of these recordings. I'm always a little nervous for the first episode of a new season, so I appreciate you being here today. I'm hoping we can get started by let us know where Swelter Coffee is, what it is, and what it is that your role there is.
Sure. So, Swelter Coffee Roasters is currently based in the Chicago area. As of last August, I moved out here from the Bay Area in California. That's where I started Swelter Coffee. I am the owner and sole runner so far. It's still just me doing all the things. And I really started the business out of a passion for coffee and a mission to make the world better. So the value and the driver behind Swelter Coffee is to support women coffee producers and to promote sustainability throughout the coffee industry and our consumerism as a whole.
Right away, I'm going to jump ahead in, kind of the notes that I sent you, but there's a mission statement on your website, Coffee by Women for Everyone.
hmm
And I'm wondering, what does that mean? What does being a woman in coffee mean to you? Why is that such an important component that you put it right there on the front of the first thing people see when they go to find you?
Sure. Yeah. So it really was more about my sourcing practices than me in itself. Um, the inspiration between the inspiration for Swelter Coffee was really this intersectionality of gender equity and sustainability. I just happened to be really into coffee at the time and was sort of toying with the idea of doing it a little bit more serious. I was roasting for as a hobby for friends and family and colleagues for many years before that. Really, it started when my previous career in design really focused on environmental sustainability. And so I learned a lot about supply chains with different industries because I'd worked with a lot of different or businesses, big Fortune 500 organizations or small nonprofits, et cetera. I learned a lot about supply chains and sort of the breadth of how sustainability touches our lives and everything we do. So anyway, there was really just this connection between the women producing all of our world's food and the lack of equity and support that they get and receive, and how supporting women as in regards to gaining equal training, equal education, equal funding sources, resources, we could produce a lot more food in our world without having to degrade any more land. And that was through the work by a really amazing organization called Project Drawdown. Me being passionate about the coffee industry, that was sort of my gateway into kind of creating something that could have a positive impact and unite two of my passions, which is gender equity and sustainability. And sort of that kind of came with my point of view in coffee.
Well, that kind of brings me back a little bit to how did this passion for coffee get started in the first place? I mean, do you have an experience that kind of set you down this path, or a memory of coffee in your life that made you start thinking about it as more than just a function of waking up in the morning?
Yeah. Coffee, as long as I can remember, has had played some role in my life. When I was really a lot younger, my family drank coffee in the mornings. I remember getting up and my mom would be making coffee. So we'd have the smell of, kind of a Folgers like experience every morning. And that was always a bit nostalgic. And I think I became a coffee consumer probably in my teens. I grew up in the Northwest, so in the 1990s. So the coffee house scene was sort of the thing, teens would do, and you just go to the coffee houses. That was sort of kind of that culture that came out of the 90s. And so for me, it was just always something I loved. I loved going to coffee shops and hanging out at coffee shops and consuming coffee. And so that was just sort of a never really thought beyond that part of it until I became an adult. I categorize myself and my habits somewhat along the lines of a maker mindset. I like to figure out how to do things and do them myself. And so I discovered you can roast coffee at home, which just blew my mind because I make my bread, I make my cheese, I make all the other things, and I'm like, well, why am I not roasting my own coffee? How was this possible? So that sort of piqued my interest. So I went down that rabbit hole. And when I started roasting my own coffee in my oven in my apartment in Oakland, California, I was trying to achieve the dark, full body coffee that I was kind of used to, that I kind of would always drink. And it was through the process of buying beans from different origins, just trying to explore and have fun, and roasting in my oven that I just naturally got lighter and lighter in my roast levels as I could taste different things, and kind of really birthed my appreciation for more of the lighter and medium roasts that we find nowadays in this third wave coffee industry and fourth wave coffee industry. So it was really a natural, organic process, and I just fell in love with it. So of course I did it for what, 8 years before I started the business, something like that. Yeah, it was just something I really loved doing.
I just want to point out, you just said that you make your own cheese. I'm
Mm-hmm.
from Wisconsin and I don't make my own cheese, and I like making things. That's incredible. I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. You mentioned that you did this for 8 years before kind of starting a business. That means you had something else going on. You said visual design, you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
Did
Mm-hmm.
that make it harder or easier to come up with a name and a branding, having kind of that background in design? And
Harder. Oh my goodness.
I
It is
assumed.
so hard to be your own client. Of course, I do all my own branding and illustration and web design and everything. It's been really challenging. It is really hard to be your own client. And I think for me, like when I work with clients myself, I still do design work. I kind of get, after hearing about their story and what they want to do with whatever project it is, I start getting visual ideas and references, etc. But for my own brand, I really didn't have a clear vision going into it for the branding, but I had a clear mission for the company and how I wanted to start building the company. So that for me was just, I have this gut check and I run with it. But the visuals were really challenging. So when I launched, I kind of just kept it simple. I did just simple typography. I tried to use lots of color because I just really like color. And I played around with a couple different things. I just tried to keep it simple. And then last year is when I went down the rabbit hole of actually trying to design it with a little bit more intent. And I landed on the illustration, which is now on the front of the bag, really trying to elevate the mission of supporting women. So I wanted that to become more apparent in when people see the brand, other than the tagline. The tagline also came accidentally, coffee by women for everyone. It actually came about, I think, when I was doing a pop-up and people would make funny comments. Oh, but I'm a man. Can I drink it too? And I was like, well, yes, it's, yeah, women make the coffee and produce the coffee. Doesn't mean you have to be a woman to consume the coffee. So that's kind of where that came from. It was just really a concise way to frame it.
I can hear just about every man in my family saying that exact thing at a farmer's
Yeah,
market. I'm
yeah,
sorry for
yeah.
that.
Oh, no, that's okay. I know it's just, people are kind of being silly, and especially when you come upon something that maybe was a little unexpected or you aren't sure about or you don't know about, you just kind of make remarks. So not a big deal.
Well, it's a
But
confident statement. I just want to say that. Like it's something that when I read it, I said, "Oh, this is an identity that they understand, that they are not shying away from." And I
yeah.
think that makes people pause because there's so few things that we feel super confident about in our life, and we
Hmm.
don't always see that in our branding.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That is kind of why it really rose to the forefront in the previous branding and the current branding, which it's now in a script. Previously, I actually have it here. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was just like big
Sure.
text. And the script is actually done by a really good friend of mine who does a lot of really beautiful lettering. So, yeah, that phrase just really, it says it all. This is coffee by women, but it's for everyone to consume and to appreciate and to love and enjoy. And it's supposed to represent, everyone having access to high quality, ethically driven, delicious coffee. It's not just for the elite. It's not just for people with fancy coffee makers. It's for everyone and anyone who wants to dive in and explore and taste it. So,
I think that's commendable. And the fact that you believe in the taste and the flavor and you're willing to put it out in the world is kind of the next step of that. You mentioned earlier you moved from the Bay Area to the Chicagoland area. This is your first winter out
hmm
there. How has it been so far?
it's about 15 degrees outside right now with
Oh,
a wind
so
chill
balmy.
of 2. Um, yeah, it's still sort of novel and fun. We've got a bunch of snow. I have a 7-year-old, so of course it's really awesome to see the kid just loving the snow and playing in the snow. The snow's fun when you're a kid. When you're older and have to deal with shoveling and being cold and driving and all that, it's kind of a pain in the butt. But yeah, it's kind of fun. It's still fun and novel, all new, sort of fun to be in a new place and explore a new environment.
Well, I was thinking about being in the Midwest in particular while I was reading about your zero waste coffee club, which I'm going to have you explain in just a
Hmm.
second. And the reason I was thinking about the Midwest in a initiative like that is because things are harder when half of the year it's more challenging to go outside. It's harder
Hmm.
to motivate people to do things that require more effort. Um, I was here in California during the pandemic era, especially the beginning, and I had to remind myself that it was easier for me than for my family back home because I could be outside pretty much all year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's chilly today at like 56 degrees and I'm struggling with it. But, the idea that I couldn't go, like, the world was bigger for me than it was necessarily for my brothers or my mom.
Right.
So when I think about efforts like the Zero Waste Coffee Club, I know that in Chicago it might be more challenging than in a different place just because there's more effort that goes into it. Could you tell us what that is and why the impact of food waste is something you're considering with your company and with coffee?
Yeah. So the Zero Waste Coffee Club is um, basically a coffee service that delivers freshly roasted coffee to your door in a reusable packaging system. It tackles food waste in the regard of diverting organic material or material that could be broken down from landfill and cutting down on the use of plastic altogether. It's really rooted in my sustainability side of myself and wanting to offer customers a truly different and sustainable option for getting high quality coffee. When I was going down the research rabbit hole of how to package my coffee and something that fit my ethics and standards. Nothing out there really fit the bill. So that's how I started testing out this idea. Personally, I I buy stuff in bulk and I refill containers. I go to those types of shops. And so it's sort of like something I'm familiar with. And as far as a sustainability side of things and trying to reel in our consumerism, the circular economy is really key to I am by no means an expert. I'm just an enthusiast, but it's really it's going to be key to changing our systems in the future to a reuse setup versus a single use setup. And so I saw no one else was doing this. No one else was offering the closest thing you would get is going to a grocery store and buying coffee in bulk, which is a great option if you have it. However, for high quality coffees that, we're paying farmers a premium price to purchase. And so I have to be able to then make a business out of it. You don't want to be buying coffee that sit in your bulk aisle for 6 months and not be so flavorful and wonderful anymore. And I think high quality coffees are not necessarily associated with the bulk section. So that's where it's like, it's a great option. And I fully, support people who buy their coffee in bulk from those options. But not everyone has that. Like you said, getting out in some parts of the world or even the US in particular with weather and access, you might not have access to those things. So that's where creating an e-commerce option was really key in developing the Zero Waste Coffee Club. So I basically packaged the coffee in custom made silicone bags and I mailed them out to customers every 4 weeks. And then when they get their coffee and refill their own container, however they want to store it, they then mail that back to me. And then I clean, sanitize, and then reuse the same set of things. So there's no packaging waste that happens in the whole system.
When you were looking into the possibility of this, did you run into a lot of roadblocks? I would imagine that like just
Yes.
trying to find, just answering the question, is this even allowed?
Hmm.
Like those types of things would stop me. I'd be like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I suppose the buck's still out there. No one's griped about it yet. I follow all the food safety standards that are
Hmm.
required. But yeah, I still feel this system. I'm in a kind of a 2.0 testing stage of, I'm not sort of full on launching everything, but I still have a lot of kinks to work out regarding
Hmm.
the systems. But yeah, because I'm basically creating something that doesn't exist. So I'm figuring out what materials are most efficient, light, durable, washable, sanitation is essential, that are easy to use from a consumer standpoint, easy for me to fill and refill, stay closed during shipping, food grade, of course, without saying. So there's a lot of things that were required. And so when I first started, I picked out a couple of my subscribers who were friends to help test out, and I just used off the shelf options that I could find. And then I grew that a little bit. And then last year I did a crowdfunding to be able to invest in custom made bags that checked a few more boxes that I needed. And a couple of those were staying closed while I shipped them across the country. The stasher type bags do not stay closed all the time, no matter how many clips you put on them, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, little things. There's lots of hurdles to jump through and to figure out, but that's still rooted in the way I want to build this company. I want it to be pushing the boundaries and actually offering different options and better solutions that might require creating a new system. But I kind of feel like if this system is creatable, there's other products that could use this system. And so I feel like there's potential there from a sustainability aspect to branch into other products potentially, not just coffee.
How do you stay motivated to pursue this challenge, which is a challenge. And I say that seriously because I struggle with this. Sustainability is important to me. It's something that my wife would say I go a little insane about when it comes to what we buy or don't buy. But even I've like really struggled in the last year in particular because I can't even convince, the neighbors in my apartment complex to recycle. It's
Yeah,
still, or like to
yeah.
use the right bin. So you're already sourcing sustainably, roasting coffee, doing your own branding. This is another effort. How do you stay motivated to do
That is a very good question. I'm incredibly stubborn. My husband will tell you that. I don't know. That actually, this type of stuff is actually what keeps me going. I'm not in this to make money to do the status quo. I'm in this. I chose to quit my secure day job in a career I had for 15 years to do something different because I wanted I wanted to be able to do something that makes the world better. And this is the type of stuff that I want to see happen. If someone else had already figured it out, great, I would subscribe to their thing and do that. But no one had figured that out yet. So that's why I don't know, I find it interesting. I There's always a level of learning, tons of research that has to happen. It's grueling and gets tiring and really frustrating, but I don't know, I'm passionate about it. I guess I just have this weird passion and stubbornness to keep going and to keep trying until something really shows me that this is, until I really hit that wall and it's like, no, this is not possible because of X, Y, and Z. And then I'll know, okay, at least I tried. I know I tried. Now I need to move on to the next thing.
Sure. Do you think having a child keeps you motivated in that way? I think about that a lot because I don't have kids of my own.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm thinking about the future, it's fairly selfish in that regard. Obviously, I have god kids that I think about, and I've got
Yeah,
friends'
yeah.
kids and that sort of thing. And I wonder about that. How would that change my perspective of what I do today? And, probably push me over the edge into crazy. But
Well, yeah, thank you for pointing that out. For me personally, it has been a driver. Um, I didn't decide to get enough courage to start my own business until after I had a kid, which is probably not the smartest way to do it. You should do it before you have a kid and have it be successful so you can be financially stable. But I didn't have the motivation and it did. Something in me changed. I know it doesn't happen for everyone and that's fine. But for me, the both the passions for sustainability and for gender equity really came to the forefront when I had a kid, and kind of just evaluating the future. I mean, I was probably more diligent on the sustainability side of things when I was young and single and could do all the sacrifices I wanted to. When you have a kid, you kind of have to succumb to conveniences. So yes, I sometimes buy those, snack packs that I just hate so much and a little part of me dies. But, when you have a kid taking a lunch to school, you kind of have to you have to use the tools that you have. And I think that's okay. I think in a way it also has allowed me to give myself a little bit more grace in some of the things that I think when I was younger, I was a lot more stubborn about. But yeah, I think having a kid does make you think about the future and your impact and what role or role model do you want to be for your kid. And so it kind of maybe gives you a little bit more motivation to really become that role model that you would have wanted to be for your kid. And then when you have one, it's like, hey, it's now or never. This kid's going to grow up and my time's going to be out. So it's now or never.
I put a note in our pre-show chat about the value of hope at this time and sustainability and kind of the future climate. All things that impact coffee are things that seem unstable in the moment, and we're questioning. And so for me, finding people that are still motivated and inspired helps keep me going. And so
Hmm.
thank you for that. You have more than a decade of roasting experience. You've been running Swelter for 4 or 5 years, I believe.
Hmm.
I am wondering if somebody came to you and asked you for some advice, said, I want to kind of do what you do. I want to start roasting, or I want to start a company someday. What would you say to them?
Um, if someone wanted to start roasting, I'd say do it. And like, I just think it's so fun. It's such a low bar to just start getting some sort of vessel to roast coffee in your house and do that discovery. That's like just such a fun sensory experience and just a fun learning about the craft and the coffee itself and all of that. So just go for it in any way that you can. You can do it really cheaply, or you can get a really fancy little home roaster nowadays. And there's tons of video tutorials and lots more education online to learn about what's happening to the coffee as you roast. So that just go for it if you have an interest there. Starting a business, I'd probably not tell people to do what I did. Um, However, I don't know. I think everyone's going to have their own journey. You have to stick to your own motivations and your own inspirations. And so, if you are able, I would say do planning, plan as much as you can, do research as much as you can, save up as much as you can until you just kind of have to dive in, because you could do that forever and just have one excuse after the other before you start doing what you want to do. At a certain point, you just kind of have to dive in. And that's sort of what happened to me is like, I did a little bit of planning. I should have done a lot more. I did a little bit of saving. I should have done a lot more. But at a certain point, I was at a point in my life where I was like, it's either now or never. I just have to go for this. I have to try it out. I have to prove it to myself. Either I can or cannot do this. And if I can't, if I end up, not succeeding and making it a sustainable business where I can actually start paying myself, I have stuff to fall back on, and it would really be heartbreaking, but at least I know I tried as hard as I could and learned a lot of stuff, but I could revert to other stuff, other business, my previous career or some other endeavors I've started. And that's kind of what I tell myself is like, this isn't, you don't have to keep at this forever. So having, plan B, plan C, plan D.
I think what I'm hearing from you is that I should buy a van because it's now or never, and the show
Mm-hmm.
should hit the road.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I will caution you, though, on the other side of that, the longer you go without having a traditional job, the harder it is to go back to a traditional job.
Yes. Yes. I will definitely agree with that. I don't know if I could just get hired by someone again and work for someone else. I'd like to think that if it's the right kind of organization, especially if it's like an organization I can feel really passionate about, I could do it. But I'll probably try a couple other things before I do that.
Well, then that leads us to what comes next. What's the future of Swelter Coffee as you're moving forward into what year is it? 2025.
Yeah, yeah. That's such a big question. I've been doing a lot of reflecting and thinking about this. I've kind of been going, um, just flying on the seat of my pants thus far. I have some vague ideas of where I want to move the company, but I think what I really need to do is solidify that vision as to where it needs to go. For Swelter Coffee to have the impact in the world that I really want it to, it has to grow. I have to have more buying power to support farmers. I have to have a bigger team to have the effective communication to customers for education. So the company needs to grow, and so that's really the focus on that growth roadmap is what I need to do. Whether it's what sort of wholesale or business model I need to figure out that makes the most sense, and find those partnerships and people to help me make it happen.
That idea of growth and hope and all these things that we've been talking about. One of the new things that we're doing on this show for this season 13, is talking to people about things that they care about and things that they want to support. And I kind of last second sent you a message just asking, are there any sort of charity or nonprofit efforts that are important to you or that we can share with people as they're kind of going into the year and thinking about how can I be, a source of support for other people?
Yeah. Yeah, the two that came to mind, they're two organizations that I know their work pretty well, and they have a really positive impact in coffee in the coffee space are the folks. They're based in um, predominantly in Vermont, but they work in Central America. So it's foodforfarmers.org. They do a lot of amazing work and programs trying to help farmers diversify their income, and get food on the table, stuff like that. They have a lot of really great programs, because for a lot of the year for farmers, they get paid once a year once harvest is out. And so they often go through part of the year, with a lot of scarcity. And so they work with a lot of people on just helping them find ways to diversify their income and their food sources. And so they do really great work. The other organization I'm really passionate about is beanvoyage.org. They work specifically with women producers in Central America, and I think they're just branching into Colombia. So their focus is on skill building, resources, market access, et cetera. They have a handful of different really amazing programs, and they've been growing like crazy. So they're doing really impactful work to help specifically women producers across Central and now starting to move into South America. So both of those organizations are doing really great work as far as on the supply chain side, and they're pretty small. So the impacts, any sort of support or donations people have will have a big impact on them.
When you are out exploring the world and you stop at a coffee shop or a coffee roaster, what do you order?
So I have a couple different criteria. First of all, if it's what time of day is it? If it's in the morning, I opt for more of like a black pour over type of thing. If it's in the afternoon, I go for the fun milk drinks. My go-to milk drink, if it feels like the cafe has a lot of skills and quality, I'll go for a cappuccino. That's sort of like if they can make a good cappuccino, they're gonna pass my test. I'm a diehard cappuccino drinker, especially in the afternoon, like after lunch. But if it's like, especially if it's a roaster, if it's a cafe and they don't necessarily roast their own coffee, I kind of might just pick whatever. But if it's a roaster, I like to try with some of their single origins and just usually try something I'm not familiar with. I drink my own coffee all the time. And so when I'm out and about, I like to drink other people's coffee, and especially if it's someone I hadn't heard of, or if I can see if it's a woman producer, I will definitely go for that. But usually you can't see that. Or like an origin that I'm not familiar with, I'll try like a single origin pour over. Very boring.
Not at all. This is what people are listening for. They're excited to hear this. I hope. Uh, the last question I have for you then is as we're stepping away and we're sending people to sweltercoffee.com or they're engaging with Swelter Coffee in some way, what would you say they should think about trying from you? What would be, hey, this is the thing that I'm really excited about and I want you to taste or try from our roaster.
hmm hmm I'm about to release. I just released my single origin from India called Varshini's India. That one's a really delicious one. This is the second year I've had it, and last year it came and went rather quickly. It was pretty popular, and I only bought a small amount. So try that if you haven't really explored Indian coffee yet. That's a really fun one. And then I'm about to release a new Ethiopian. It's a new origin working with importer based in Michigan, Artisan Coffee Imports, that I love the work they do. I've been buying through them for my Rwandan source, and so this is the first one from Ethiopia. And I love Ethiopian coffees, so I'm really excited to release this. It's not on the website yet, so maybe in a few more weeks I'll have the profiling done and all the brand packaging done, and have it released. But that one's going to be pretty special. But I just say explore. I try to offer a spectrum of coffees on the medium spectrum. They're almost all single origin, except for one blend that I do for folks who like a little bit of a darker, fuller body. It's Frida's blend. So I just say, poke around, see, think about what you like in your cup, and try something that might fit that. Or get the tasters coffee lovers gift pack, and there's a little box with 3 different samples get 3 different coffees to try. So
I wish more roasters did that.
really?
I do, because I'm somebody who drinks a lot of coffee and explores a lot and connects with a lot of different roasters. And if I'm going to buy a full bag from every place, that
Mhm.
adds up pretty
Yeah.
quickly. And then I'm not making a living anymore and I can't keep doing this. So if more people offered like a 2-pack or a 3-pack or a 4-pack, and I could, spend,
Mhm.
say, under $50 and
Mhm.
try the gamut, that would be amazing. So thank you for doing that.
Mhm.
Stephanie, thank you for spending this time with us and sharing a little bit about your story. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. This was really great. You had really great questions.
Oh, thank you. You can find all the links that we chatted about in today's episode, including the one to sweltercoffee.com and the charities that we just mentioned, in our show notes and our newsletter. Our newsletter is coffeepeoplepodcast.com. This show, the Coffee People Podcast, is part of the Roast West Coast Coffee Network and can be found on all of your favorite podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify. Just search for Coffee People. Shout out to our presenting sponsor, Roastar, the coffee packaging company that helps small businesses tell their big story. They really have enabled us to keep doing this. And that's it. Thank you for listening to us share the stories of coffee people, in particular, Stephanie Welter-Krause. Please tip your baristas and be sure to drink good coffee.